Okay, this is going to be the first video on College Algebra, which starts off with, it's usually the first unit, which would be the order of operations, or known as PEMDAS. So what exactly is PEMDAS? Well, the order of operations in mathematics means, to put it simply, the order you do mathematics to get the correct answer. Very simple. So what does that mean? Well, think about, you have a vehicle, okay, some car. Well, even this car has an order of operation. What does that mean? Well, this is you. You decide to drive the car. So what would be the order you need to follow? Well, you make sure you have the key, unlock the door, unless you have like a Lamborghini or something, right? Unlock the door, get into the vehicle, and put the key in the ignition, see if you have fuel, and then drive away, right? Or put the car in reverse, out of the driveway, etc. Now, let's say you did not follow the order of operations. Let's say, for instance, you jumped on top of the roof and you decided you want the car to move. Do you think this will work? Of course not. The outcome would be totally wrong, right? So when you follow the order of operations for a vehicle, you get a successful outcome. If you don't follow the order, you don't get a successful outcome. And that's pretty much the mathematical operation as well, order of operations, right? PEMDAS. So what is PEMDAS? Well, the P is for parentheses. Parentheses, which is also known as brackets in Europe. And brackets, this also refers to grouping, the grouping of terms. Okay. Then you have your exponents, anything to the power of 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, any value that's above your variable or your number is an exponent, also known as radicals. Then we have multiplication, which has this symbol. Multiplication can also have a little dot, however, but multiplication could also be two parentheses next to each other. Okay, but we'll get to this. Then you have division, which is simply dividing of values, and you have addition, which is adding, and subtraction, which is a minus. Now, note that this could also be referred to as difference, which could also be referred to as difference, subtraction, minus. Okay, and in this case, addition could also refer to the sum of. Okay, so this is our mathematical order of operations. It's worth noting that PEMDAS usually gets written in this format: MD, addition, subtraction, and yeah. Now, why do we group addition and, well, we have to group multiplication and division and addition and subtraction. In this case, we're always going to work from left to right. Okay, very important. So let's say we have sum 2 divided by 2 multiply 2. In this case, we're going to first, even though we see multiplication is first, we're going to work from left to right because these two would be in the same category, the same as A and S. Okay, addition and subtraction. So 2 divided by 2 is 1, multiply 2, that gives me 2. What if you did it other way around? No, other way around is the same thing. 2 times 2 divided by 2 is 4. It's 2 as well. Anyway, maybe a bad example, but let's get to some real examples. Okay, so following our order of operations, let's do some calculations. So in this case, I have 3 plus, I'll write PEMDAS here so you can follow. And we're going to work from left to right. Okay, here's my little PEMDAS I'm going to follow, or my order of operations. So in this case, we have 3 plus 4 multiply 3. So which one's first? Multiplication is for addition. So I can, if you really want to, you can add yourself a little parentheses to make it easier, which is then going to be 3 plus 12. 3 times 4 is 12. And then we have 15 as our final answer. Let's see what happens. So the red, I'm going to use red to show what will happen if we don't follow the order of operations. So in this case, it's going to be 3 plus 4, which is 7. 7 times 3, in this case, is going to be 21. So here we have 21 as one answer, and here we have 15. So which one is right? Well, the left-hand side would be right because we followed our order of operations in mathematics. Okay? And the left-hand side would be incorrect. Okay, let's look at number 2. So number 2 tells us we have 2 plus 3 multiply the parentheses of 9 minus 4 to the second power. So we can redo this as 2 plus 3. Let's solve the inside of the parentheses. It's going to be 5 squared. Now we can do exponents. Exponents is before multiplication, so it's going to be 3 multiply 5 squared is 25, which then gives me 2 plus 75, 3 times 25. This is what I mentioned a bit earlier, where you have 3 multiply 25. Even though there's a parenthesis, just this is the distributive property, where we can just multiply whatever's in front or behind the parentheses with everything inside the parentheses. Okay, so this is going to give me my final answer of 77. Now this one can be really disastrous if you don't follow the order of operations. You can get a totally different answer. But for now, let's head over to number 3. Okay, so number 3 is one of those examples where we have multiplication and division in one question. But it's very important to note that we're going to work from left to right. Okay? Very important. So we first want to solve everything on the left, and then we want to progressively move forward to the right side. So in this case, 30 divided by 3 is 10 times 2 is 20. So my final answer will be 20. Now let's see what happens if we don't follow the order. Okay, we don't follow it. So in this case, let's say I want to do multiplication first, because I saw multiplication is first in PEMDAS before division. In that case, I get 30 divided by 6, which is equal to 5. Now we can see over here we get 20, but here we get 5. So this one would be considered incorrect. Okay, next one. Now first, we see parentheses. We have parentheses over here. Then we have an exponent. Then we have division. Then we have addition. Okay, you should start getting the idea now. So let's solve the inside first. This is going to give me 4 minus 2 is 2 squared divided by 4 plus 2. In this case, it's going to be 4 divided by 4 plus 2, which then gives me 1 plus 2. So my final answer will be 3. Okay, let's move over to the next one. Number 5. Number 5 looks a little bit big. So here we have a bracket, a new bracket. Well, this one would be considered a square bracket. And this one would be just considered a bracket if you're in Europe, if you're in America. It's still a square bracket, to the best of my knowledge. And this one is a parentheses. Okay, parentheses. And this one's a square bracket. So let's solve this one. First things first, we're going to solve the inside. So 4, 2 minus 2 is 0. Plus, solve the inside. I can solve multiplication on this side and division on this side, right? Because we have M and D in PEMDAS on the same range. You can sort of think about it as a range, or a level at least. So it's going to be 8 plus 2 divided by 2 is 1. So now in this case, I have 4 multiply 0, which is 0. Then I have 2 multiply, let me solve this one. Okay. 0 plus 9. And just to make something clear, if you solve a parentheses, you can delete it, right? Or you can sort of just leave it, get rid of it, because you've already solved it, so we don't need to write it again. Okay? And then anything multiplied 2 is, or anything multiplied 0 is 0. So 0 plus 9, so my final answer in this case will then be 9. Okay, so there's my final answer. Okay, I'm going to do 2 more examples. Ooh, what do we have over here? Well, here I'm going to separate my inside. So I'm going to draw my own parentheses in this case. Okay, so 2 multiply. This one I can solve already, right? That's going to give me 49. Plus 2 divided by 4 is 2. Or 4 divided by 2 is 2. Multiply 4. That gives me 2 multiply 49 plus 8, which is then 49 plus 8. So it's going to be 2 multiply 7, 1 transfer over. So that gives me 57. And then 57 multiplied 2 is 114. So 114 will be my final answer. So in this case, we can see our final answer needs to multiply with a 0. So we know my final answer is going to be 0. Okay? But what if you have, let's say, you are awarded 7 marks for this question? You cannot just go write 0, right? Of course not. So now we have a squiggly bracket. Okay? A little squiggly bracket. So let's solve. Let's move outwards. So it's going to be 2 minus 4. I'm going to first solve this parentheses. So we want to work it from the inside out. Okay? We want to solve the most inner bracket, then the second most inner bracket, then the final bracket. Okay, so if this thing was 7 marks, let's solve. So 2 to the power of 2 is 4. So I can already write that 4. 2 multiply 4 plus 2 is 6 plus 2 square bracket, squiggly bracket. Now 0. I'm going to leave this 2 because I cannot solve it yet. It's still waiting in his line. Okay. Minus 4. Now let's solve the inside of this parentheses. So if I multiply these two values, it gives me 12. So it's going to be 4 minus 12 plus 2 square bracket, squiggly bracket. Okay. Oh, I'm running out of space. Okay. So again, 0, squiggly bracket, 2 minus 4. And now I can solve the inside. Well, 2 plus negative 12 gives me negative 10. Negative 10 plus 4 gives me negative 6. So this is going to be negative 6, squiggly bracket. Then we can say, well, 0, let me continue over here. 0, 2, and now we're going to distribute our negative 4 into the square bracket. So it's going to be negative 4 times negative 6, which is positive 24. And then I can solve the inside, which is going to be 0. 2 plus 24 is 26. And therefore 0 multiplied 26 is 0. So that's my final answer. Even though this was the final answer, it's worth noting to look at your mark scheme. Okay, if your mark scheme is 1 point and you have this equation, of course you can just write 0. But if your mark scheme is 7 points, not that I ever think it would be in a college setting. It might actually, it might. Yeah, then we have to show every single operation. Okay.